When we talk about spiritualism and mediumship, we always talk about connection, but in the main I feel that connection is the end connection via yourself and spirit. What we're missing, I believe, is personal connection with self. How do we connect with ourselves before being able to connect with spirit? For me, self-connection, self-love, be-love is vitally important if we're going to go to the next level, which is connecting with spirit in an authentic and intimate way. One of the more successful techniques that I've used in terms of connecting is mindfulness, and I was inspired by a gentleman called John Kabat-Zinn. Our guest this evening, Rachel Louise John, is an expert in mindfulness, and she talks about her time with her grandmother and how spirituality, spiritualism and mediumship crosses meditation.
Doing, I was just having fun with Granny and enjoying myself, but as I got older and I got more interested and my interest was piqued, I started to explore for myself, and I actually got into trouble with her one day because I'd read a lot of books and done some exploration myself and decided to do automatic writing and try and connect. And then I went to her, my 14-year-old self, saying that I'd managed to get a message, and she went absolutely up the wall and told me that I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know what I was doing with meditation, and I needed to study, and so she scared the bejesus out of me. But I rediscovered meditation when I moved to Brighton. I was an air hostess, and it was a very stressful job. It was long hours, and I found a centre there, and I had some incredible experiences there. I've had some incredible experiences with my spirituality over time as well, but I reconnected with meditation and mindfulness there.
I'm Julian Jenkins, and you're listening to That's the Spirit. Rachel Louise John is an accredited meditation and mindfulness teacher who was trained with the British School of Meditation and the Mindfulness Association, based at the Cardiff Tibetan Buddhist and Mindfulness Centre. Rachel talks openly about her life and some of the major incidents and challenges she's faced to bring her to this point in her life, where she helps others understand meditation and the role it plays in our lives, and also through spirituality.
Unfortunately, when I was 30, I was raped. So it's holds no power now, I can say it out loud, but it really, really messed with my life for a good 8-9 years. And I went back to meditation then when I went to see a counsellor, and she just happened to use mindfulness-based stress reduction. And as I was having sessions with her, I realised how much I'd missed it. So I decided to go back myself. That's when I started training. I did year-long compassion, year-long mindfulness training. I worked with the British School of Meditation and got my practitioners training, teacher training there. And I never stopped. And then while that was happening, while I was training with the Samye Ling Foundation, I had some unusual experiences, and I spoke to the teacher about it, and I call them my tells now, is when I know I'm connecting and I'm channeling. I was getting this kind of padding sensation in my hands, and I was getting strange feelings in my body, and she very matter-of-factly said, oh yeah, we had a healer here before, and that's what happened to her. And they were extremely matter-of-fact about it. So I started to explore myself, and meditation has just enhanced that gift. It's enhanced everything.
I'm glad you spoke about it in that way, and congratulations, because I know through your life you've had some challenges, and you've come out the other side of it stronger and wiser for it. And I think for me, when you talk about mindfulness, I speak about it because it allows us. When we spoke about this earlier on, I think it's important for us, if we want to connect with spirit, we have to connect with ourselves.
Yes.
Okay, and that first connection is with self. And being able to use mindfulness and that type of meditation to connect with ourselves and be with our breath is key to going forward, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Because what we tend to do a lot in life is we disassociate from ourselves completely. We are rushing around all the time. We're forever stressed. We're doing, in a constant state of doing, and we forget how to be. We forget how to be still. We forget how to be vulnerable with ourselves. And we actually forget who we are a lot of the time. And what mindfulness does is it allows you to reconnect. It allows you to make space in your life. And breathing is so, so important, not just from a calming point of view, but physiologically it changes you. And yes, you create this huge space and you can reconnect with who you are, really. You find yourself again almost.
We spoke about the scientific aspects of it, and you've just come across it a bit there with, meditation isn't just about creating space to allow spirit to fill and connect to spirit, which is, some of the functions I use it for. I actually use mindfulness quite a bit. I gotta be honest, I should use it more. I should get into a daily routine when I have, even if it's 5-10 minutes of just being with my breath or whatever the scenario is. I do a body scan every now and then, trying to reconnect with myself even more. But, it is important, mindfulness. Can you tell us a little bit about, because we're using the word mindfulness, but some people may not actually understand what that is. Can you tell us a little bit about mindfulness and the form of meditation that exists within that?
Yeah. Well, meditation is a one-pointed, focused attention and awareness on something without judgment. So you hold no judgment and you don't hold attachment. And with mindfulness, you have a support that allows you to bring yourself back to the present moment. So breath is one of the supports that you use to stop your mind from wandering. So it is definitely a discipline and a training. And you use the breath to keep you in the present moment. So if your mind starts to wander, you recognize that the thought is there. You don't try and push it out. You don't try and resist it. You don't try and hold on to it and grasp it. You just say, okay, I know that thought is there. I'm going to come back to my breath. And then you train your mind, you discipline your mind to be more still. So breath is one of the first supports. And then you mentioned the body scan. So we use the body scan as a present moment anchor as well. That brings you back to the present moment, but it also reconnects you with your body. Because like I said, well, in my case, I completely disassociated from my body. So it allows people to reconnect with their bodies. And also, if you are stressed or anxious, you tend to breathe a lot from your chest. If you're having a panic attack, you breathe from your chest. So you take the breath deep, deep, deep down into your body, and then you start to notice different sensations in your body. And this actually helps with spirituality, I think, and channeling, connecting, as you start to recognize almost things that don't belong to your body, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Your own sensations and sensations that are being channeled. And then you can use sound as a support as well. But you're always bringing your mind back to that one support. So you're training it all the time. So you're never completely emptying it, but you are putting it into a less stressful state, and you're taking yourself away from autopilot and unconscious behavior and moving into a more conscious place of being.
Mindfulness is a true tool, an opportunity for us to meditate and create that space, as we talked about. You've had some, real spiritual awakenings through your mindfulness, haven't you?
There's been many times when you can balance yourself out and you're coming from a level foundation and you can connect with your subconscious mind and you leave that autopilot conscious mind on that's always critical and judgmental and kind of takes over the brain, you can hear spirit better because your mind is in a calm, open space. So if I don't meditate, I know you do, I do raising my energy, raising my vibration exercises. But when I'm channeling with somebody or I'm doing a session with somebody, I always come back to this calm space and I do it with them. They do the breathing with me because what they actually do then is they connect themselves. They think they can't. They go, I'm not going to get anything. I'm not going to see anything. I'm not going to connect. But they do because they go deep into it's almost like a trance state where you really, really connect with the breath and you go still and you can hear and you can see, all the clairs come into play then because there's an open playing field for them, to communicate with you.
And that's the state that I like to get into. And it was funny because last night I did a demonstration locally here, and there were probably 9 of the, I don't like using the word students, but 9 of the people who come to my development group on a Monday night. And it's funny because you sat there, or you stood there and thinking, I've really got to practice what I preach here. And, you know, I can't go on saying that, and I know you use the word clairs, and I know I've said it a few times and we joke about it, but, you know, I can't go up there and be clair vague, and use clair vagueness as a way to deliver my mediumship. And I was sat there and I was thinking to myself, right, okay, let's try this power meditation that you keep teaching and talking about. And this is the moment. And to be fair, it didn't let me down. It was truly, truly amazing. And the evidence that came out was just, I thought was fantastic. And, you know, a lot of that was the ability to focus my mind. And even, you know, when you're given a message, and I was giving this message to a lady in the front, and she was a lovely, lovely lady, but I just felt there was a sense of closure. And her mother said, just, you know, tell Claire not to fold her arms. And before that, I was just losing the connection. And I thought, like, do the power meditation again and just go back in, get back to your breath, ask spirit to come close, set the intention. And I did that in like that. And the woman, her mother came back in and said, tell Claire to unfold her arms. And I said, Claire, you've got to unfold your arms. And she looked at me, she nearly fell off a seat, because, you know, it's like, how do you know my name? And I was like, well, I don't, but your mother does.
Yeah.
You know, and it was that moment to come back in, you know, it was just, it was absolutely unreal. And that mindfulness, using mindfulness within that meditation and to be able to connect and create that space truly was amazing. So, you know, there definitely is a certain place for that. And how do you use mindfulness? We talk about mindfulness spiritually, which is important, but how would you advise people to use mindfulness in their everyday life?
Oh, there's so many different ways you can do it. You don't have to sit on a cushion for an hour. You can create a mindfulness practice with just a few breaths a day and lead up to 5 minutes or 10 minutes on wherever you can fit it in. So you can wake up in the morning and still be lying in bed and not even have moved, and just start breathing from the nose very, very consciously, only through the nose, in and out, and take it down deep to the belly. And you watch the breath. You watch it coming in through the nose. It's like having another observer there. So you sense the air and you feel the air coming in through your nose. You watch it going down the back of the throat and down into your body and into your belly. And then when you get up, you could brush your teeth mindfully. So every action that you do, when you're holding the toothbrush and then you're turning the tap on, you're listening to the water coming out of the tap. You're feeling what the tap feels like when you squeeze the toothpaste. You're looking at how it comes out. You do everything. It's almost like looking at everything in minute detail, things that you wouldn't normally look at, because actually brushing the teeth is something that we do on autopilot. You probably use the same hand all the time. You've probably got a routine. When you wake up in the morning, you do the same thing over and over and over. So it's breaking that routine and breaking that autopilot. And every time you do that, you're being mindful. Every time you return to an action, you're being mindful. You can run mindfully. You can swim mindfully. You were talking about fishing earlier. You can fish, any hobby that you've got that you really enjoy, you can do mindfully. Colouring, all sorts of things. And you can do any activity mindfully. Walk in the dark. So long as you're paying attention to what's going on around you, the detail. And mindfulness is an open monitoring style as well. So you use all your senses. So your awake senses, and if you like, you use all of them. Sound, smell, touch, sight. You use everything and you pay attention to all detail.
It is beautiful. And I remember, I was quite fortunate. I was sent away to do like a crash course in mindfulness-based stress reduction. It was over a week, and I did it in Alicante, which I spoke about earlier.
Very lucky.
Very lucky. Yeah, very lucky. But I say crash course, I nearly crashed as well, because the silence was crazy in this little Buddhist retreat up in the hills. It was mad. I'd gone from being like running a £40 million company to, my wife upgrading the room so I had a sink, and that was it. That was but it was amazing. And one of the things that we did, and I think it's commonly taught, is putting the raisin in your mouth. Yes. And actually, moving the raisin around in your mouth and slowly eating the raisin and making sure that it touches all the points and all this sort of thing, really. Yeah. And it was crazy how different eating a raisin was when I was eating mindfully. So, doing those things are important, aren't they?
Oh my God, absolutely. And I've got a class on Tuesday night, actually, and I give them opal fruits because we go and mix it up a little bit, give them something different, something that really gets that saliva and those taste buds going, because you really can't stop that. And it's odds, like the things that people notice when they were unwrapping it, and what it smelt like, and then what it felt like in their mouth, and then what it's like when they're chewing it. It's completely different. And what we're doing is we're heightening awareness. Every time we're being mindful, we are heightening and enhancing our awareness. And we need that when we're connecting with spirit too. Our awareness needs to be on point.
Zed's from sort of Liverpool area, and he's got a very interesting sense of humour. He says he's raising your vibrations. I wouldn't expect anything less from you, Zed, and congratulations, you win the joke of the week. You win a new table. Sorry, you've already got one. So no, it is an amazing thing, mindfulness. Talk to me a little bit about your spiritual background. Tell me, how did you have your first sort of spiritual feelings, and where you are with that, and how are you teaching, and where are you on your junction of your journey?
Well, we're always learning. We're always students. That's one of the things in mindfulness as well. There are pillars in mindfulness, and one of them is beginner's mind. So even in my spiritual journey, I'm still learning from everybody I meet. But where I am now is I do spiritual development classes with people. I have my own meditation class where we start with mindfulness, so we settle ourselves, and then we do something a bit more spiritual after that. And then I also do something called I read the Akashics. So I don't know if you've heard of that. Have you heard of the Akashic Library?
Yeah.
Of course you have.
Yeah.
But for your viewers, if they don't know, it's kind of like where your soul contract is held. And if you imagine a library, we use that kind of idea because it's easy to explain. But it's like going into a library, taking out your book. You can look at your past, present, and your future. So I connect with past lives. I use shamanic work as well, actually, in my work. So I connect with power animals, totem animals. I connect with, I look at your chakras and I align and heal the chakras as well. So there's a whole gamut of stuff going on when I do an Akashic reading. But what I get is what is most important and current for you now. And then I can see the karmic theme that's running in your life now, that something that you need to pay attention to. And it helps people with their purpose. Often people come to me and they've lost themselves a little, and they don't know what their purpose is in life, and they've kind of lost a bit of the joy and the motivation for life. So I help them kind of get their confidence back and their mojo.
Is there a specific, you talk about, I can never say the word, it's the files, it's the records. How can you say it?
Just call it that. It's cool.
Yeah, just call it the files. It's funny, I can't say umbrella either. But oh yeah, sorry. But no, it's amazing. It's and I've worked with these before, and I've had people who actually, are really sort of specialist, in terms of looking through the records and all the rest of it. Is there a certain way you do that? Is there a certain meditation? Is there a certain opening process, or how do you start to do that sort of thing?
I've got a process that I do as rote. So I always start with the breath. The person that I'm reading for starts with the breath with me, and I guide them in. And then I take them in. It's like a mini meditation, if you like. I take them on a mini meditation to get them settled and relaxed. And then I take them to the field, the file. And then they have their own experience there while I write. But what I do first of all is, with their permission, I look at their 7 main chakras, and then I got a lot of information from just looking at those 7 main chakras. And it can be anything from health to relationships to money to whatever it brings up for me. And then I specifically ask for a past life to be brought for me that shows me what the karmic theme is in this current life. And it's always very healing, accessing that past life, because people always recognize it. And what happens a lot of the time is, and this is why mindfulness is so good, you can get very specific with things. So I get lives that I've never ever heard of, and dates and names. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to give that to you. I have no idea what it is. And then when the person goes to look it up, that there's a real person in history that, nobody's ever heard of. So it's an excellent way to reconnect to yourself. And then I always call in my guides and my angels, obviously, when I'm working together with somebody. And I always get an energy of somebody for them. So I work with goddesses. I work with all sorts of deities. whatever is current for them at that moment comes up.
That is, and it sounds amazing, and I'm going to book in and have a reading for myself. So if anybody wants to book on, have you got a website? And we've got plenty of time, but just if we're at this point, can you give out your
website's being launched 11th of November, which is 11/11/11. That's why I picked it.
All right, good. And what's your Facebook page? Could you give that out?
It is Soul Being. It's Soul Being. Rachel Louise John.
There we go. All right, so a shameless plug for everybody who's in the room and or is watching later on. Yeah, so get you on there. I'm really interested in that side of things and past life. I had a past life regression, which was truly amazing. What's your thought process on all of that? How many lives do we have? How many times do you come back? Why do you come back? It's quite a deep question, but I'm going to ask you.
I can't tell you how many lives we've had, but because I think we've all had thousands. There may be brand new souls. I haven't come across a brand new soul yet. But younger ones, yeah, for sure. But everybody that I've seen has had hundreds of thousands of different lives. But I just get given the most current and prominent one for them right now. What was your second question then? Sorry. So
and what's your view on it, or how do you? How do you see people's soul purposes and what are we all working towards? What's the bigger picture?
Well, I think the huge picture is about love. You talk about love a lot. When people come to me, I teach them to operate from a place of love and not fear. So I think all our purposes are love. But then as light workers, we're going to have specific jobs, if you like, to do on this plane. And you can access that with the help of past lives and connecting and channeling. My purpose is as a catalyst. I've learned that through connecting to my own past lives. So I'm the catalyst in changing other people's lives. Now, before I realised that, before I connected with my past lives, I was an unwitting catalyst. And sometimes it wasn't very pleasant. So things would happen that I had no control over, but I would be somehow smack bang in the middle of it. Now I'm consciously doing it without the strife. But before, things would just happen around me. Yeah, absolutely, Teresa. Unconditional love and forgiveness. We're all here to love each other and raise our vibration so we can ascend.
I think, it is beautiful, and things have. Things have changed for me, and my mantra now is, I keep saying it, and a lot of people know it, is be love and give love. Yeah. It's that being able to love yourself and then love others, and as Teresa says, unconditional love and forgiveness. We all make mistakes. We are only human after all, and the ability to be able to have that empathy, and we were talking the other day about be love and give love, and somebody said to me that they don't like the fact that they're loving themselves. It can feel a bit arrogant, and I'm not advocating we all go and have 2 tons of Botox and everything else, and look something and be something we're not. What I'm saying is that it's just feeling that love for yourself and trying to treat yourself better and have that have that pride in yourself and have that passion within yourself, and all of these words that really just reconnect yourself. I think it's hugely important for yourself every single day we go on. But also, the more and more I see it and feel it and talk to people, amazing people like yourself, is that I don't think you can connect with spirit unless you're connected to yourself.
No, I don't think you can either. I mean, there's acts of radical self-love, isn't there? And I think what I've heard in the last few years especially is like we're living in a world of duality, of light and dark, and good and bad, and negative and positive, and there's an up and a down, and all of this. But when we are kind of relearning to love ourselves, if you like, we should be transmuting those two energies together. So the masculine and the feminine, the negative and the positive, because we can't have one without the other. We can't always be positive. We can't ignore that the things that happen that are a little out of our control or upset our lives in some way. We can't be on this like fluffy pink clouds all the time. So for me, it's about transmuting those energies together and accepting that we are good and bad. And the more that we love ourselves, the more we are able to accept that shadow side. And we don't act from that place then, if we're acting from a place of love and forgiveness and unconditional love and kindness, compassion as well.
Yeah, you're right. And it is a game. It is, and it was, and still is a game changer for me, in terms of seeing the world differently. And because I don't know, I think we all, again, we are human doers and not human beings. And I think, you forget about it all, don't you? Because you're so focused on, I've got to go and do this, and I got to go to bed, and then I got to get up, and then I got to go to work, and then I've got to do this, and then I got to go to bed, and then I got to get up, and and that's, you're just into that routine, and then you get angry, and then you miss things, and I've been in a world for most of my life, rightly or wrongly, where I've been surrounded by abundance, and if I look back now on some of the things that I've done in my life. Not bad things, but, even things that surrounded me, and I never appreciated it. I never really took anything in with it. It was all just because it was always there, and it's always going to be there. And that side of things for me, which has massively changed, and making the most of the little things that happen around you, or, I gotta be honest with you, I couldn't even see beauty. I didn't see beauty. I didn't, I'd walk through the park, and I'd be walking through the park just to get to the other side.
Yeah.
That's what it was about. It was about, I'm going on holidays to come home.
Yeah.
It was all of those type of things, it's all a bit strange and a bit weird, I know, but, living your life mindfully and doing those things really are massive game changers, aren't they?
Yeah, we forget to look, we forget to appreciate, and we forget to be grateful. And mindfulness reconnects us to a lot of that. Like I mentioned the pillars earlier, and trust is one of the pillars. So it's about trusting yourself. That's another act of self-love, is trusting yourself. I've got so many clients that come for mindfulness that don't trust themselves anymore, that they doubt themselves all the time, and they question themselves, and they've lost their confidence. And that's a huge thing, to not trust yourself.
Do you know what? It is for me the most single popular, I'm going to call it a speed bump in spiritual and mediumship development.
Yeah,
is the lack of trust, the lack of surrender, the faith, but no belief.
Yeah.
And those things really are the things that we're consistently working on. The one word that we're always using at the moment in all of the classes that I do, in everything that I talk about, is surrender. Just surrender to the moment, surrender to spirit, surrender to the communication. Just let it all go and see what happens. And I think a lot of people will be extremely surprised at the level of communication and connection with self, communication and connection with spirit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where do you see some of the big obstacles, if you like, the big hurdles that people put in the way for creating mindfulness meditations?
There's a few. There's quite a few. I think judgment.
Top three?
Judgment is a huge one.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because judgment is a very, very difficult one to let go of. And if you think about, we make judgments every day, but we might not recognize that we do. Because even when we're making decisions of what we're going to wear in the morning, we make a judgment about whether we like that outfit or that outfit, and then we choose one. Then we go and do that throughout the rest of our day as well. So a critical mind is a judging mind. And I think judgment is a really, really strong one, because if you are judging people constantly, you're not exhibiting much compassion or empathy. And compassion is one of the foundations of being mindful. So judgment can stop you from being compassionate.
I constantly talk about Jon Kabat-Zinn and the work he did with me, in particular looking at connecting with myself and breathing and becoming more mindful. Is there a process to helping people achieve that level of self-connect, achieve that level of mindfulness?
The very, very first process is to get them to breathe, because people don't breathe properly. They don't use that deep, deep breath that comes down to the belly. They don't activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So they're in a constant state of fight or flight, which is stressful. Stress hormones running through their bodies, and they don't realize it because they've got a base level of stress now that's so high, they think it's normal. So the first thing I get them to do is connect with their breath. So they move into what you call then the rest and digest. And that calms the body and it moves you away from fight or flight. And then physiologically, your body's in a different place. Your heart rate slows down. Your brain goes, oh, my heart's slowing down, so I must be in a good place. No need to run away, no need to fight, no need to do anything stressful. Oh, okay then. So the brain calms down and the heart goes slower. And then it's a circle of goodness going around then. So yeah, the first thing is to connect to their breath. And then we do exercises called habit breakers. Move you away from automatic behavior. Living more consciously. The moment you start to live more consciously is the moment you start to notice the things that are negative and don't give your life anything that are not productive or positive things for you.
You openly talk about Buddhists and your Buddhism experiences. Is it a sect of Buddhism that contacts spirit?
There's a particular lineage that will study meditation just to become enhanced psychic abilities, and it's about opening your inner eye and opening the third eye, and it's all about that. It's about inner sight and the Holy Spirit bringing that gift to you by meditating. But in the lineage that I come from, with mindfulness, you just stick to the support. So what I tend to do is about intention. I think we talked about that when we were chatting today. When I am mindful, I am just being mindful. Then when I want to connect, I make the intention to connect and I meditate in a completely different way. So mindfulness is like a tool to keep my brain disciplined and level. And then I connect with the breath. So it's almost like a short mindfulness, if you like. But I make an intention to do something completely different.
I'm always truly humbled to see the level of guests we have on That's the Spirit. And this week with Rachel, it really is a truly outstanding interview concerning mindfulness, how it plays such a huge part in our lives, how we can help ourselves get over some of the speed bumps in life, but also how it can help us to connect with self and to connect with spirit. I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I've done this week. And just remember, as always, be love and give love. Till the next time, thank you for listening to That's the Spirit.